Thank you for joining us at NTT IR Day 2022. We're very grateful for this very large turnout. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nakayama. I'm the head of finance and accounting at NTT Holding Company. Today's program is as follows. This is the program for the day. We will be completing this session at about 5:30 p.m. Japan time. We hope that you'll stay with us until the very end. Now, today's proceedings will be available on on-demand basis. We would appreciate your understanding. The content of this presentation will be provided on an on-demand basis at a later date. So let us go on with the program. First, I'd like to invite opening remarks from Mr. Hiroi Takashi, Senior Executive Vice President of the company. Mr. Hiroi, the floor is yours. Could we have your opening remarks, please? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hiroi of NTT Holding Company. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us at NTT IR Day 2022 out of your busy schedule. Thank you so much for setting aside your time for us. Now, I have come back to NTT Holding Company after 2-year tenure at NTT Docomo. I'm very honored to be able to do work with the members of this community once again. I'm looking forward to this exchange. Now, it's been 2 or 3 months since I returned to NTT Holding Company, and I've had the chance to have discussions with many of you in the meantime. If I could just share with you some of the impressions as a result of the exchanges that I have had with the investor community in the past 2 or 3 months. First of all, it seems that all of you have a sense of security as well as a sense of insecurity about our company. So what are the source of insecurities, uncertainties about the company? What is this new president going to do? That is one of the sources for this uncertainty. In the days under Mr. Uno-Ura, we made domestic market and domestic business more profitable. We introduced cost reduction. We also introduced wholesale fiber business as well under Mr. Uno-Ura as the president. As far as the finance side is concerned, we began to strengthen shareholder return, and we've been able to meet the expectations of the investors. And also, our business portfolio is now expanding overseas, and we're breaking out from dependence on domestic business. We've been able to realize increasing scale. Now, under Mr. Sawada's tenure, on the domestic front, NTT Docomo became 100% owned wholly subsidiary firm for NTT Holding Company. This was a very big decision, and we implemented and acted upon it. And also, outside Japan, we expanded not only on increase in scale, we also began to focus on profit, and now they're beginning to produce results. And also, in the R&D field, IOWN and sustainability-related initiatives have been fortified. So what is going to take place under Mr. Shimada's leadership? What type of corporate actions are awaiting under Mr. Shimada? I think that is probably one of the expectations that you have. Now, having said all this, going forward, what is going to happen to our global business? I'm sure you're all wondering. Now that Docomo is a wholly owned subsidiary firm, what is going to happen? What is the effect in relation to Smart Life business and other businesses as a result of this new structure? When will IOWN become profitable? I'm sure that there are many questions on your part, and we have received various inputs from your side. Also, we have rising commodity prices, and we also have issues related to resources and decoupling taking place. So the situation is becoming very difficult and challenging. So under those new challenging circumstances, how do we intend to realize growth of our business over the next 2 or 3 years? This is something that we need to demonstrate to you and communicate to you in a very straightforward manner. As far as we're concerned, we intend to maintain communication with all of you. We want to make sure that we heighten our engagement with your community. And we hope that you will not be able to, you won't have to have various questions about our business. We have to make sure that we have good relationships so that you'll be convinced about the viability of our business activities. So that being the case, I do hope that you will continue to render your support and your understanding about our activities at NTT Holding Company. Today we'll be focusing on data center business. Regardless of domestic or global data center, business is a very important part of our strategy. So we'd like to introduce to you about part of this very important strategy for our company. So I do hope that today's presentation will be of great reference to you. And with that, I would like to conclude my opening remarks. Thank you very much for joining us today. Good day.
はい、続き
Thank you very much. We'd now like to go on to the presentation. First, we want to talk about growth strategy of NTT Global Data Centers. So from NTT Limited, we have with us Mr. Sharad Changi. We also have with us Mr. Suzuki. And also from NTT Global Data Centers Americas, we also have with us Mr. Douglas Adams as our speakers. So they will be joining us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nakayama-san. It is indeed an honor for me to represent the Data Center Division of NTT Limited, along with my colleagues, Yasuo Suzuki-san and Doug Adams-san. So NTT's global data center business continues to grow and expand at a rapid rate with aggressive investments to build new data centers around the globe. What Suzuki-san will present later is the details of this growth, but the industry accumulated growth rate is 11.8%, and we are growing at almost double that. So that's a huge. Even the capacity that we build, we book more than the build capacity over the last 3 years. So that's a very, very aggressive growth. We are funding this growth through a combination of internal capital, external third-party capital. You will meet one of our investors later today, which is Tokyo Century. And we are also looking to grow more aggressively in markets where we're not present, potentially by looking at M&A in the future. Our footprint is in over 20 countries, in 93 cities, and we have over 141 data centers today. And we have several data centers under construction. The total capacity that we have is over 1 gigawatt and almost 700 megawatts under construction today. We have a lot of synergy with NTT Data and NTT Communications, and this synergy will help us leverage the digital backbone that we build using our data centers as the core and also our global network backbone. And so for every co-location contract, we also have the opportunity to upsell our clients with system integration, with managed services, which include security services, with application services now with NTT Data coming in together. So for every co-location dollar, we can have several dollars for our enterprise clients, upsell this with the synergy that the NTT Group offers. And honestly, that's very unique. There is nobody else that can offer end-to-end IT services like the NTT Group can. But one of the key elements of data center business across the world is stickiness. So what happens is that clients are very sticky. It's very difficult once a client sets up his infrastructure in our data centers for them to look at moving. And this stickiness results in recurring revenue and contracts that last for several years. Thereby, our profitability increases every year because there's the stickiness of the clients. And so this the data center business is highly stable, sticky, and profitable. And this increases year over year, and we expect this trend to continue in the foreseeable future. At the core of our data center build across the world is sustainability. NTT Group has already announced that we want to become, our data center business will be carbon neutral by the year 2030. And towards that, we are using a lot of renewable energy in our data centers. So we've signed PPAs in Europe. We've also set up captive solar and hybrid wind solar plants in India. And we believe that by the end of 22, we'll be close to almost, Suzuki-san will elaborate, but almost 40% of our energy will be through renewable energy. The design and innovation that we do in our data centers also helps in improving energy efficiency and making our data centers more sustainable. We've done a lot of innovation in cooling, and so we've used DCLC and liquid immersion cooling, for example, in some of our data centers, which helps reduce the power usage efficiency. We've used other cooling techniques as well that really makes our power usage efficiency in our data centers amongst the best in the industry. And that helps in reducing the carbon footprint, and also the benefit of that is also shared with our clients. Also the modular design that you will see later when Doug-san presents gives us flexibility to be able to cater to needs not only of our hyperscale clients, but also enterprise clients. And this also helps us to roll out data centers faster. And it also helps us to target tier 2 cities. You will hear Suzuki-san talking about the edge strategy as part of his growth strategy. And this modular design helps us to roll out faster in some of the smaller markets as well. So with that, I would like to hand over to Suzuki-san. He will present about our growth strategy, and followed by that, Doug-san will present a case study of the America market, along with the modular design as talked about, and also a case study of a collaboration with NTT Data. Thank you. Suzuki-san, over to you.
Thank you, Sharad-san.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Suzuki, responsible for data center service at NTT Limited. Today, I'll be talking about the growth strategy for NTT Global Data Centers. These are the contents I'll be covering. I'll be talking about the data center market dynamics, GDC footprint, GDC financial snapshot, strategy and priorities, data center-centric GTM, expansion, sustainability, and news business update and collaboration with NTT Limited and NTT Data. Mr. Doug Adams will be taking part in the very end of this presentation to highlight the case study in the United States. So let me now talk about the current market trends. This is the size of the market. In 2019, from 2019 up until 2026, CGR will reach 11.5%. So they're showing a very major growth. Now, one noteworthy point is as follows. From 2022, we began the so-called COVID-19. So generally speaking, there was a slump in the economy. But as far as the data center is concerned, and also in our data center business, we continue to enjoy growth even under COVID. Why is that? Because within the COVID-19, the work style reform took place. And also we saw further progress in digital transformation. So as a result, the cloud service providers, large wholesale clients, and enterprise customers, their demand for outsourcing began to increase as a result. So that being the case, we have seen very robust growth in the demand for data center business. So that is the situation that we have found ourselves in. I guess the backdrop. What about our market share? This shows NTT GDC position in the marketplace. As far as the revenue share is concerned, as far as the co-location revenue is concerned, we categorize overseas businesses. NTT is third, following Equinix and Digital Reality among those operators that are active in the global market. We are number 3. To the left-hand side, it will show you the share by the revenue. Right-hand side shows Global IDC MarketScape Vendor Assessment. This is a very known company, and this is an assessment of the vendor's capability. And again, we're also number 3, following Equinix and Digital Reality in the vendor assessment as well.
Now let us move on to the GDC footprint. NTT Group's data center footprint is we have more than footprint in more than 20 countries, 93 sites, and 141 buildings. In the case of data centers, on megawatt basis, we often talk about capacity. We have more than 1,000 megawatt IT power in our data centers. And as Sharad earlier mentioned, we have 702 megawatt under plan. And we'll start services soon. And where are our locations? This data center operators have tier 1 cities, that is accumulation of data centers in the various countries. And we have been taking the location strategy to cover these major places. And as a result, we are now able to provide services globally and also incorporating local and regional demands of customers. And now, financial snapshot. Data center finance in 2018 to 2022. In 2018, we had $1 billion, and FY 2022, $2 billion. Over 5 years, we doubled our growth, which is 20.8% CAGR. Earlier, I talked about 11.5% global average growth. In comparison, NTT Group's and data center business has been growing much faster, you can see. In this, as I mentioned earlier, 2020 onwards, since the start of COVID, our sales have been very strong. CapEx-wise, in 2018, $0.7 billion, and 2022, $1.5 billion. But if you look at 2020 onwards, if you look at the yellow part, $1.2 billion in the graph. This is the constructed capacity, but we were selling 6% more in booking capacity compared to the inventory. Our sales was greater. Therefore, we could not completely cater to customers' demands. And in FY 2021, by incorporating external capital, by using third-party external investor capital, we have been able to increase our investment. But still, our booking capacity has been increasing more than what we invested in. So FY 2022, together with external capital, $2.5 billion in total. Compared to 2020, this is more than double the CapEx. But then booking capacity grew even more than that. And this year, our outlook is 40% booking capacity more than the constructed capacity. So compared to our CapEx, booking is way more. And today, we are not able to spend enough in CapEx. Then why are we selling as much? This comes from our differentiation strategy. If you look at this matrix, comparison with competition from company A to D, they are companies that actually exist. And if you look at the vertical axis, they are the data center users, often used services. And looking at this table, you can see that only NTT Group is able to provide everything from top to bottom, all of the areas. And we call this provision of full stack services. We provide full stack services. This may seemingly only effective for enterprise customers. However, this enterprise-grade service provision is also possible to wholesale customers. This means cloud operators and large-scale wholesale customers. From their perspective, full-service wholesale provider-wise, we are also receiving very high credit. Hyperscalers and very large-scale business orders, we are able to connect to. Now, to strengthen our competitiveness, what are we specifically doing? We have 4 pillars. We are working on these 4 priorities. They are full stack IT solutions, from colocation services, managed services to application layers. We provide all the services as full stack. And our data center users, out of the users, that, for instance, AWS and Microsoft Azure, they also need connectivity to public cloud, therefore connectivity to such cloud services. And then globally common contracts and customers' portals. For example, if customer applies in the US, the customer would be able to use global services. In other words, we have one-stop service, one voice to customers. We have also service standardization and technology automation and adoption and creative process innovation. And as I mentioned, we are using external capital to invest and increase investment. And by 2030, not only are we going to increase investment, but we will respond to the need of the society and customers to achieve 100% renewable energy. And then, as Sharat also mentioned earlier, so far we have been covering the major tier 1 cities. That has been our strategy. But on top of that, we are now going to also cover tier 2 cities or the edge cities. We will be considering coverage of edge markets. And then finally, about the engagements, not only are we increasing customer satisfaction, but also by investing in our employees, partners. In the end, we also want to further increase customer experience. This is what we are working on. And now, the strength of the full stack services. And here at the bottom, you can see the digital backbone. This is the infrastructure part, data center, network service. These infrastructure part services. And starting from there, connectivity, managed services, application services, and consulting services, we connect to these other services. Sharat earlier mentioned Sticky. The data center users, they also invest their own facilities in the data centers as well. Therefore, they use for a long time. If there is a 5-year data center co-location order on us, in addition to connectivity, there will be further needs for managed application and consulting services. We can provide various proposals, and using the data center as the leverage, we can lead to selling other services. This is the full stack service strategy. Starting from October, NTT Data and NTT Communications together will be selling together in and out of Japan. Now, data centers. Data centers is in the big building where the server rooms of companies are much bigger, and there is a lot of importance in connectivity. And the strength of our company is globally we have data centers across the world, but we also have a lot of subsea cables. If you look at the Japan and US to the right-hand side dotted area, we are going to soon start up a new cable, Juno. In Asia, Apricot, the green line, and to the left you can see Mist. And then the yellow data center have these subsea cables directly interconnected, which means when the customers go out globally from there will be lowest latency. And this will be of the benefit to the cloud operators and enterprise customers who use cloud operators, and also ISPs and contents customers who require the least latency. So synergy with subsea cable is one strength for our differentiation. Now, growth expansion strategy. Basically, by region, we capture the needs of the region to expand. And here are the 4 strategies for Americas. Broaden key metro footprint and capture demand. EMEA. Double down in FLAP. Or Germany, the main market where we have strength. And increase investment in tier 2 markets as well. India, sustained investment required to capitalize on market opportunity. APAC, Japan and various markets have various characteristics. In line with the market characteristics, we will accelerate the investment strategy. Japan is one of the major markets, and to capture the strong demand, we intend to accelerate investment in Japan. And the bottom boxes, you can see organic growth We have built over a long time our operational know-hows, and we will be expanding our own data centers and development on our own. And for data center expansion, location is very important. How to obtain land beforehand is very important. And electricity related to land is important to secure. Therefore, keeping these aspects in mind, we want to achieve long-term growth. And as presence-wise, where we don't have enough coverage for such places, as an option to move into new markets, we will consider possible M&As as well. This is the global data centers list, the recent data centers, specifically FY 2022, 11 locations of data center service launch is scheduled. And from FY 23, 24 to 25, 14 locations is shown on this page. And this page shows already approved for construction data centers that are listed. So as we have more approvals, the number of data centers will increase even more on top of this page. And then today, we have made this press release as well. That is Japan expansion strategy. As a part of Japan expansion strategy in Osaka, in Keihanna region. And in Osaka, we have a data center demand within Osaka City and in northern Osaka, Ibaraki City. These are the clusters of data centers, and Keihanna is the next potential area of promise. And there is the MIC certified project for data centers, and aiming for the third quarter of 2025, we intend to complete construction of our data center. Currently, this is within the premise of the NTT R&D facility. Within this premise, we intend to build a 30 megawatt data center. 30 megawatt means in Ibaraki City in 2019, we completed construction of a data center. And this has maximum of 30 megawatt. So equivalent maximum capacity scale, comparable scale of data center will be constructed here in Keihanna region as well. And we earlier touched upon use of third-party capital to accelerate investment. And later we will hear about India from Tokyo Century. And in the suburb and central Mumbai, we have been developing data centers. And with Ho Chi Minh City of Vietnam, the local SI operator with QD Tech, we are forming joint venture to construct a data center.
And also, US and US Europe is our largest market. In 2020, in 2022, in April, with Macquarie Asset Management, we decided to grow a partnership. And we'll be considering joint ventures and other collaborative arrangements with this company going forward as a result of this agreement. Next, let me now talk about sustainability-related efforts. So, in 2030 or by 2030, we will be aiming for 100% renewable usage. That is what we're aiming for in 2030. So this is the roadmap. How specifically are we going to achieve this? There are some concrete initiatives. So there's 7 work streams as we are aiming to achieve the medium-term plan. It's not just about renewables. We have to also focus on sustainability. Usage of water has to be sustainable and limiting any potential waste. So we have to address sustainability as efforts. And we now have a special group that handles this. So in 2021, the percent on a global basis, it reached 28.8%. Renewable energy usage ratio reached 28.8%. And for this year, we're aiming for 38.7%. So we see steady increase in the energy usage ratio for renewables, as you can see from this chart. So I would like to show you a question. I would like to conclude my presentation at this juncture and focus on the examples in the United States. Invite my colleague Doug Adams to talk about the United States at this juncture.
Arigato. Konnichiwa. Again, my name is Doug Adams, and I'm the CEO of the NTT GDC Americas data center business. I'd like to start by talking about my fellow GDC region heads, Florian Winkler in Europe, Shaker-san in India, and Kimura-san in Asia. They all run an amazing business, and they're equally as prepared and have equal accomplishments to we have in the US. I'm honored that Shimada-san asked me to present kind of a case study of what we're doing in the US and how we're experiencing hypergrowth and how we've enabled that hypergrowth. But I do want to start by saying that my fellow counterparts in the rest of the world also have amazing businesses and have grown equally and show tremendous profitability. With that, let me start by giving a quick overview of the United States. Today, we're in 7 markets. We have Chicago, Illinois, Hillsboro, Oregon, Sacramento, California, Santa Clara, California. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, and Dallas, Texas, and Ashburn, Virginia. Within those 7 campuses, we have 13 operating data centers. We're building another 7, by the way. We've booked 99 megawatts year to date. 99 megawatts is enough power to power 99,000 homes. So very large bookings year to date. We have 299 megawatts of operational IT load within our data center platform, 480 clients, a little over 500 employees, $680 million worth of CapEx we're deploying this year alone, about 4.1 billion in flight with what we're constructing, and we've got a pipeline of over 750 megawatts. So it's a very large business that we've grown in the United States. One of the ways we've grown that business is through our what we call our flexible modular design. And I'm going to show a video at the end how that works. But it's one of the innovations that we've done that allow us to increase quality, increase speed to market, increase flexibility, and also reduce cost. And in essence, what we do is we have a centralized factory in the middle of the United States that's an outsourced factory. We produce electrical and mechanical modules within that factory, and then we fungibly ship them to where our sales demand is in our different data centers. And that flexibility allows us to build very quickly at a super high quality and very affordably. And again, at the end, I'm going to show a quick video of exactly how that works. Within the US, we've taken the global strategy of our data center group, and we've modified it a little bit to meet the demands of the US market. And this is the strategy that we implemented over the last 5 years. So we started 5 years ago by retooling our team. We brought in a team of seasoned data center professionals that have worked within many companies across the globe. And I'll show you those companies in a few minutes, and I'll talk about a few of those team members. But that was the first step, was bringing in the right people, because you had to have the right people to grow a platform at the speed that we have. Then we retooled our product. We took our product that was more retail focused, and we focused it towards enterprise companies and hyperscale companies. We actually changed the design, we changed our supply chain, we implemented vendor managed inventory so that even in difficult times like right now with supply chain, we're able to continually build and supply our data centers with infrastructure. We also went into new markets. When NTT bought our company 9 years ago, we had 2 markets. We're now in 7 markets. That made a big difference for the growth that we're experiencing. And then we created very, very durable relationships with our customers, especially in hyperscaler and enterprise. And you see in the center, we implemented the value of NTT, which is really the managed services and the resources that NTT can bring to our customers. This is the base strategy that's allowed us to grow over the last 5 years at the rates we have. I'm going to talk about a few of these components individually. The first one I'll talk to is people. We have an absolutely amazing team at NTT GDC America. I'm not going to talk about everybody, but I'll talk about a few people. Ben Stewart, been in our industry for over 20 years. He actually has a PhD, and he heads our operations, and he does an amazing job. Joe Goldsmith. Joe was one of the early pioneering salespeople at Digital Realty many, many years ago. He actually was head of sales for a company called Colo.com, which was one of the pioneers in our industry, and has very deep relationships within the industry. Brittany Miller is our head of construction and design. She actually has a degree in construction. She's one of only 15% of female executives within the construction industry. And she had 20 plus years of experience in purchasing and in construction with Intel, with Microsoft. Great heritage. The last person I'll talk about is Denise Hannan, who's responsible for our legal and our HR. 27 years of experience. The point I'm making is we have a team of seasoned professionals that have a great degree of vertical expertise. In fact, over 150 years of experience for the combined team. I'm one of the founders of the original company NTT bought. I've got 23 years of experience with the company. The people make a very large difference. And to Shimada-san's point about how we're going to transform the company, we're going to do that through creating a better client experience by concentrating on the people. And when you start with people that have a lot of experience in the industry, that becomes easy. I'll talk for a moment about our differentiation, because I think this is a very key piece. If you look at GDC, I believe that we're very unique and differentiated to the industry. It starts with the fact that we have a global platform. There are very few companies that are truly global in our industry. We're one of them. You take that global platform of data centers, and on top of it, you add the NTT networking, which is second to none in the world. On top of that, you add our managed services. Combine that with our three client segments. The first one is hyperscaler. Hyperscaler clients buy very large quantities of infrastructure for very long periods. What that does for us is that allows us to operate at very large economies of scale. So the fact that they will purchase half a building at a time, a full building at a time, allows us the buying power and the economies of scale to have reduced cost, which is very important to attracting enterprise customers and retail customers. And again, enterprise customers and retail customers not only expect a global platform, but they get value from our managed services and from our network. So it becomes a virtuous cycle. You have a global data center platform. We've got cloud customers with on-ramps to the clouds. That brings in enterprise and retail clients because of the managed services and the networking. It's a very special differentiation that our competitors cannot enjoy. And it's part of the reason we're growing so fast. Speaking of that growth, this chart has several segments. The top right shows that we have a very diversified client base. We're not just concentrating on one client. The part on the bottom shows that we have 0.3% of churn in our customer base. That means that we're taking very good care of our clients. Our voice of the customer, which we do regularly with our customer, shows over 60% customer satisfaction, and that's on a 1 to 10 scale using voice of the customer technique. So anything above 50 is world class. So a very good score. On the bottom left, you can see our revenue growth. 2016, we were at 131 million. 2022, we'll finish the year at 430 million. So very, very strong revenue growth. What's driving that revenue growth, of course, it's the bookings. So if you look at the top left chart and you see the gray shaded area, that's the sand chart, the gray shaded area is our inventory level by year. You'll notice in 2017 through 2019, we were booking on average about 15 megawatts a year. We implemented our strategy during that time period, and in 2020 was the first year we really saw the results of that strategy of concentrating on the people, changing the design, creating durable relationships with the hyperscale customers. And you can see in 2020, we increased to 40 megawatts and then of bookings. So that's the blue bar, by the way, the blue bar. 2021, you'll notice that blue bar goes above our inventory for the first time in the history of the company. We booked 108 megawatts, record year for GDC. In 2022, we will book over 200 megawatts, and you can see that we're booking unbuilt complete buildings to get above our actual sustainable inventory level. That's hypergrowth, and that comes from focusing on a very well thought through, well implemented strategy. And we're now getting 73% year over year bookings over the last 5 years. So very strong growth from concentrating, I think, on a very strong strategy. I talked earlier about that strategy and that centerpiece of the strategy, which was really the NTT relationships that we have and how we're not just bringing to our customers the value of data centers, we're bringing the value of our customers on-ramps to the clouds as well as managed services and connectivity. This slide's a great slide. What it depicts is on the left-hand side in green, you can see the pieces of the equation that the data center brought to what we call a multi-tower sale within NTT. So this was a sale that was led by NTT Data. So they took primary on this. The customer wanted an end-to-end full stack solution. Our data center competitors cannot do that because they don't have the resources of our brother and sister companies like NTT Data. So NTT Data brought us to the table and they said, we want you to do the data center pieces. We want NTT Limited to do the network piece, and we'll handle the compute, the storage, the disaster recovery, the information security, and the transition services. So we were able to create, this is an actual example, and I can't tell you the customer name, unfortunately, because our customers are very secret about, that they're in our data centers. But this is an actual example of a solution that we implemented this year with a customer. The actual solution looked like this. It was a disaster recovery solution. They used their primary existing data centers. They moved into our data centers. They used the public cloud for connectivity, which was managed by NTT Limited, and Data provided all the data security and the solutions around it. This brings value to our customers, and it's unique and it's differentiated, and our competitors cannot do it. This is what NTT brings to the table in global data centers. It's a great example and super profitable, and it's actually a very large TCV opportunity. Another example real quick, this is data center to data center. So I talked earlier about my counterparts within NTT running the different regions and the relationship we enjoy, and that they're all have equally impressive feats in the revenue that they're generating and the growth that they're generating. This is a customer called Island that was a customer in the US, and they wanted to enjoy our global footprint and expand into EMEA. And so it's a relatively small opportunity, 250 kW, excuse me. But they went into London and they were so pleased with the solution and the service and our ability to work together as a global platform that they actually asked us to do a case study with them and did a press release around it. So this is that company, Island. With that, I'm going to go back to the fungible modular design strategy I talked about earlier, because I think it's important that you understand some of the innovation that's occurred within global data centers and the way that we build our facilities. Again, we have a centralized factory. We build modules of electrical and mechanical. By the way, that's the expensive part of a data center, is the electrical and mechanical pieces. While we're doing that, we build the data center in whatever market it is, and then we merge the two of them together. And it is a very efficient, cost-effective way of doing it. So I'll start the video.
What are the benefits of building data centers through a modular construction approach? Modular construction enables us to offer customers lower prices, shorter time frames, customizable spaces. We achieve those results by standardizing materials and efficiently managing our supply chain. Our supply chain starts with modules that are manufactured at off-site factories. At the same time that the data center core and shell are constructed at the site. With this modular approach, data centers can be constructed in 9 months, while incremental capacity can be brought on in 4 months. Although many materials are standardized, there's still room for customization. Just-in-time commissioning enables customers to choose their specific power and cooling requirements. To sum up, by using this modular construction approach, we can deliver new data centers to customers in any market at the cost, schedule, and design that they want.
And I'll end by saying, if you look at Shimada-san's 3 primary objectives, increasing the customer experience to increasing the client experience, increasing the employee experience, sustainability being carbon neutral by 2030, and by transforming from a digital communication company to a digital service company, I think the data center division is a perfect example by working with our brother and sister companies of creating that transformation. And again, the message for the US is growth and profitability. Thank you very much for your time. I think from here we start Q&A. Arigato.